If a natural disaster happened today, would you have enough water to survive for 3 days? Just for reference, that's about 14 gallons for a family of 4. Would you have an emergency kit ready? How would you know if your house was safe to live in? If you're like half of Americans, you don't have these items and you don't have the information. So you are, in fact, most likely unprepared for a natural disaster.
So this is a very relevant problem, both in Seattle and around the world. Even today, there are thousands who have been stranded due to massive flooding in the southeast, and that started over this weekend. Between this local risk of an earthquake and storms around the world, we wanted to know the effects that natural disasters have and how we could reduce the terrible impact that often occurs as a result of them. So we started off looking at the 5 phases of a natural disaster. Although we originally focused on preparedness, we learned that this was one of the most explored spaces. This led us to focus on response to early recovery, which has a greater potential for improvement and a more sustained impact. So through a breadth of research, we had 4 key insights. The 2 most influential things that we did were talking with subject matter experts and a review of how people have responded to previous natural disasters. So our first insight is that one of the only guarantees after a natural disaster is that survivors and volunteers are going to come together to help each other. Second, many times locals are more suited to respond than governments and external relief organizations. This is because of their knowledge of the area, but also their specialized skills. The fire chief in Oso, Washington, saw this firsthand. Him and his crew were helped by the local logging community to access people who had been trapped after this massive landslide that occurred there. Third, even though people want to help and they're capable of doing so, sometimes they don't have the right information to do so effectively. So in speaking with a resident near Oso, they went to Costco and just filled up their car with supplies they thought people would need, and they didn't actually know what was needed on the ground. And this type of behavior is actually really common, and it often results in a mismatch between supplies and what people need. So finally, in the wake of recent natural disasters, people improvise, and they use everyday tools that they're already familiar with. Since we found that locals have this potential to be powerful in response efforts, we looked for ways to further empower them. And we asked, how can we enable individuals to more effectively respond and organize after a natural disaster?
We explored a variety of solutions that range from integration with existing digital platforms all the way to creating new physical products. The common theme throughout was around communication and clarity of information. This led us to create a mobile app called Ping. Our goal for Ping is simple: to allow people to ask questions and share resources before and during crisis events, building community resilience through location-based chat. There are existing products that do part of this, but even the most popular ones leave a lot to be explored in the context of disaster response. We looked at expanding upon one of these platforms to improve where it falls short, but ultimately decided a standalone approach would be the best. The main reason for this was that we wanted to address 2 collaboration issues: location-specific information, which we're calling maps, and resource sharing, which we're calling lists. The upcoming video shows 2 scenarios where this could be used.
Experts say the Puget Sound region is overdue for a massive earthquake.
One thing that's likely, it could take 10 days or more for help to arrive. Many neighborhoods will be on their own. The city of Seattle says there's something that could help: neighborhood communications hubs where people can meet and help each other.
After the earthquake, Seattle's broken up into a series of isolated communities. Fire and police departments are too busy tending to the big emergencies to respond to individual needs. But if natural disasters have taught us anything, it's that in these circumstances, communities tend to come together to help each other. Still, there are real barriers to community organization in a time of crisis, when too many outsiders are trying to chime in or tools have limited reach. That's where Ping comes in. Before the earthquake, people have been using Ping to connect with their community and share information and resources through local chat. And in times of crisis, Ping becomes a powerful way for communities to organize. Here's how it works. Ruben is at work when the earthquake hits, and on his way home, he finds the bridge is too dangerous to cross. He's used ping before to mark dog parks in his area. Now he opens it up and drops a pin, marking the danger. Someone else comments that a nearby bridge is safe, so he changes his route. Once Ruben is home, he sees a message on ping from his neighbor, Cindy. She's a volunteer for Seattle Neighborhoods Actively Prepare, or SNAP. She's trained for this type of situation, and her house has become the meeting point for volunteers who will help clear rubble and rebuild the neighborhood. But these volunteers need supplies, like boots, food, and tools. Cindy has used ping before to organize a food drive, and now she uses it to create a list of the supplies they'll need and broadcast it locally. At this point, self-service is down, but Ruben and his neighbors still get the message through a Bluetooth mesh network that allows nearby phones to talk directly with each other. Cindy has also added neighbors that don't have ping to the list. They're notified via text message and bring what they can, so the volunteers get just what they need. Ping, because together, we're stronger.
At its core, ping is guided by 6 design principles: real-time information about your surroundings, streamlining organizational process, reduction of irrelevant, incorrect, and repeat information, support of varying availability of technology, versatility to everyday use, fostering a community of trust and positivity. The first principle of gaining current information about your surroundings is crucial to survival and recovery. In this UI animation, Ruben has created a discussion around a collapsed bridge he encounters on his way home. He reports the damage and finds an alternate route in the discussion thread. Ping's collaborative maps allows people to access crowdsourced information, which is beneficial to individuals and organizations. In one of our prototyping activities, we found that when supplies are involved, planning with a shared list of items is more effective than verbal or text-based communication. Ping's collaborative lists feature allows people to claim responsibility by swiping an item and marking quantities. We see this as being useful to inform donors of what's needed and prevent oversupply or unnecessary items. One problem with existing communication tools, such as Twitter and Facebook, is that they are full of irrelevant, incorrect, and repeat information, also known as noise. Here you can see a long chat being reduced just to the most relevant items. To reduce noise, we created the ability to pin important information.
Fourth principle is flexibility to work with varying levels of technology. Although we found cell networks to be surprisingly resilient in the wake of natural disasters, they sometimes fail or become overloaded. We wanted the system to work in as many situations as possible, so we imagined a Bluetooth mesh network for fallback, which allows direct communication between phones in close proximity. For people who don't have the app, they can still get involved through SMS messaging. We know successful products are the ones people are familiar with, so we sought to design something that was useful before a disaster. In this example, Ruben is sharing his favorite dog park location with a group of neighbors. Features such as maps and lists are generalizable and something that people would be able to use every day. Throughout this project, we saw that both trust and privacy were integral to people using the app. We wanted to encourage people to share information that can build trust without compromising privacy. And we found that from a prototyping activity, that mutual friends and relative proximity were the best suited for these goals. Here you can see Ruben sending a thank you to Caroline for helping him get home. The result of these design principles is an app that strives to streamline local collaboration, making it easier for groups to work together, even in a time of crisis. We realize that disaster response is an extremely complicated issue, and there are obvious difficulties in testing our solution. Ping is not a magic bullet, but a solution that could be integrated with a larger ecosystem of disaster response. Thank you to our sponsor, Andy Cargile, and the faculty, and all of you today.